Okay, I said I was gonna start a vlog, VLOG, and that's not dirty. That's one of my good friends, said earlier. It's a funny thing, but anyway, I love you guys. But anyway, yeah, I was gonna start a vlog. I do already have a blog. It's so hard to say, but anyway, and, I got a little sidetracked talking. Tried to record it all last night and it won't. It's so long that it won't. I can't send it to my computer because I'm recording this on my phone. The voice, the audio. So I have to start over because I can't even get it to send to my computer because it's so long. And I got way off track. Started talking about Jason. So okay, I'm gonna try to get through this. And I just listened to Bros Watch PLL2, and they, definitely go listen to them because a lot of what I think and they really bring a lot of things that you wouldn't think of, and that I didn't even think of, and that's weird because I think of a lot of stuff. But also, they didn't mention anything about Jason, which I'm trying not to get too into that, like I did last night, because I literally talked about Jason for 40 minutes. So that's just how I am. But anyway, so, oh, now I have to listen to it. I'm kind of like sick of, like, I feel like I'm going to repeat everything they said. And I'm kind of like sick of like the whole episode right now because I'm just like down the rabbit hole thinking about all these theories. Which I haven't thought of theories since the beginning of this season because, or like 6B, I haven't really thought of theories because, there's all this new information and I'm trying to feel out like what's going on and who's who, where everybody is at this point. It's kind of trying to sit back and like watch instead of like diving onto one person, because if you kind of pull back and watch the big picture and get a feel for things, you can kind of see like more of what's going on. So I suggest, if you're a theorist, I'm going to try that method this time. Instead of honing in on one person, I'm still hoping for Ren. I'm still hoping for him to be the real Charles and that Cece lied, and for him to cover for him, blah blah blah. It would fit with a lot of things. It would really fix like most of everything, and really fit with some of the stuff Marlene's been telling us in real life, with her saying that we're gonna find out new information that will make Cece and Jason dating not gross or whatever. And I don't even know how that's possible unless it was all a lie. It's pretty much impossible to make it not gross unless she really wasn't his sister / brother or whatever. And so we'll just see what happens, but hopefully it's that. And not even just, it doesn't just have to be Ren. Like, if she was lying to cover for Charles, whoever Charles may be, that would fix a lot of stuff as well. But I just really think that there's a lot of evidence to show Ren as and all the other, he just fits in with everything. There's really no, I can't think of, Jeff said this before, there's really no major plot holes that him being Charles would cause. There's hardly any issues, if you have any, please tell me, because I can't think of any. People say, well, he kissed his sister. No, Charles is not related to Spencer or Melissa, so there's no incest there. So anyway, I will reiterate that until people really get it. But anyway, and obviously, the show doesn't care that much about incest. Anyway, but seeing if he was Charles, then there wouldn't be, but whatever. So we come back to this, I won't go through all the, details of the episode like the bros do. They go through every single detail, the shots, the camera angle. Like, seriously, listen to them. They really are insightful, and I really like listening to their recaps. But anyway, still haven't checked out Heather Hogan's second recap. She was really on a mad rant on her first one, and it wasn't really that funny, so it was more angry. So that's her deal. That's not my business, so whatever. But I do enjoy Heather Hogan's recaps, so definitely check those out too. And I'll put the things in the bottom of in the description. I'll put their websites. And also my blog, because I have a couple pieces on there about Pretty Little Liars if you want to check that out. And so that I can avoid like repeating what I've already said about characters and things. And the bros brought this up, something I really like. Mona comes in and just go listen to it. I'm not even gonna say it. Just go go listen to all of the Bros Watch PLL2 podcast, but especially since I've heard it and I know that there's a lot of things in it. The first episode of Late, I think, of Rosewood. Listen to their podcast recap of that. They bring up stuff about Mona. And I hadn't even noticed that she called the liars her friends. She's like, as my friends have said, which it kind of stung me for a second, but I just glossed over it. But honestly, she calls them her friends, and they're just like, they're still not like super nice to her, which Hannah, and her did hang out, but they really don't consider her friend, except for Hannah. They really don't consider her a friend, and she really considers them a friend, and it's really sad. But anyway, that's the kind of thing I want to talk about, like just the subtlety, the subtle things, which the bros actually do a good job of saying a lot of what I want to say. Like, I don't even have to repeat it. I'll just say go listen to them, because there's a lot of stuff that they say that I definitely like would say myself and would notice myself that a lot of people don't. And of course their main interest is the emotional aspect of the characters and the characters' growth and development and all this, and the talent of the acting and so on and so forth. And they're not really into the mystery, which I'm kind of both. I'm kind of right on the fence on that, because I do like the mystery of it, and I do feel that since it's a mystery show, there is a way to focus. And of course they said the emotion of the show and what they're trying to do with teaching people about like relationships and things like that, it does trump the theories and the mystery, and it does trump it, but there's a way to do it that you can be all-inclusive. You can make it fit and work. And the whole artistic side of it, and the writer in me, is like, if you have all these clues, and I love the clues. I love that aspect, as well as the emotional, the whole, if this is a clue, it's really amazing, and if it fits this person, it's amazing, etc., etc. So I do theorize a lot, and I do look up old movies that they mention and things like that. And Vertigo, first movie, and it really got me excited for theorizing again, to realize that they are paralleling Vertigo, and that is the reason that I don't think that Charlotte's, either she's not Charles, she's not who we think she is. I have to say that, because if you go read, I posted it in the Pretty Little Liar groups, but if you go to Wikipedia or whatever, look up the movie Vertigo, read through the plot and all that, and the synopsis, whatever, everything that happened in that movie, read about it, research that, look up Vertigo, and you'll see what I mean. It's the person that's laying there is not the person we think it is. And that could either mean that Charlotte is not really dead, and she planned this to give herself, I don't know, get herself off the hook, whatever, etc., etc. Or it could mean that it is in fact Cece. However, she's pulling this whole thing where she's not actually Charles, and it's just Cece, and that's it. Like, I would prefer that, honestly, but there's something to do with things are not as they seem. With that whole, her dying, something's not as it seems here, because that's the thing with Vertigo. That's what happened in that. So there's something going on more than what we saw. And even in the first episode, it's starting out already, and so I'm really excited that they referenced a movie. The crazy but Patsy Cline played. Everything was great. Getting back to the real Pretty Little Liars themes and things, I really like that. Instead of like the finale where it was all messed up and we had a kerosene group, which was high tech, and that's so not A's MO. I'm really hoping that some of that stuff was just, which I personally am of the opinion that the finale was reshot because there are dub voices. When Emily says Cece, her mouth did not move at all. So I'm not sure. And there weren't very many actors. I've been over this in the other vlog that I did, so there's just a lot of things that point to that. But either way, they come back to this and they're going along with that, so, which would be really hard to do. And I understand that people don't believe that there was a reshoot because, after it's hard to write and rewrite and change everything, and then film it in the matter of days. You can't really do that. That's just really difficult. I mean, that would be really difficult, which is, that's why I think that also, because everything looked really cheaply done, just, there weren't very many actors, things like that. But anyway, and, if there was a reshoot, I do think that the Kirasimi group was going to be a part of the original finale, if there was an original finale, like, I do think that because we never saw any of the liars in the same scene as Charlotte. We did see them, yelling at her not to jump, but we never saw them at the same time as we saw her in the same room. That is weird. You have to say that's weird. That is some evidence that it might have been reshot. I'd like to watch it over again and just really keep that in mind and see, like, what all is proof that it was redone at the last minute. I really would, because I feel like there's a lot of evidence of that. But anyway, which all the plot holes with Toby's mom. I say that, I was like looking at a picture of Keegan in my room. I got to meet him at the mall local here, Keegan, and it was very cool. He looks like one of my friends though, and my mom was like, were you nervous when I met him? I was like, no, he looks like Jacob. Like, he looks like my friend. So I just kind of, I don't know if that's why I didn't feel nervous, but I totally didn't. Like, I met Janelle too, and I was really nervous when I met her. I was like talking really fast, and I wanted to ask her a question about the show, but all I could get out were like massive amounts of compliments. I'm like, you're such a good actress, and you're such a good singer. I went to YouTube and listened to your songs, and you're so great. Like, all I could tell her was how great she was, which I'm glad, because, they need to hear that occasionally. But, I mean, everybody does. Especially people in the public eye that probably get bashed sometimes, but I wanted to, like, talk to her and, like, be normal, but all I could get out was, like, how good she was at everything. But with Keegan, it was a little different. I was just kind of chill because he looks like one of my friends, and I just kind of felt like I was just like, why am I having my friend sign a book? It felt like that. I was like, this is kind of weird because he looks so much like my friend, but he had like the facial hair, and the thing about him is he's a lot smaller in real life. Not like puny, but like, I don't know, where we see him on TV, I feel like he looks like really tall. Especially next to Troyan, because you just assume that Troyan's tall. And they just look a lot taller on TV. I don't know, but he looks a lot taller on TV. And when I was so close to him, it was like he was just a dude. He just looked like a regular size dude. Which I know he is, but I mean, it just seemed weird. He seemed a lot smaller. I don't know. Than I thought he would be. But anyway, get back to Toby's mom. All those plot holes had nothing to do with who A was. They were just plot holes that I don't know why they were there. I don't know if she did have to rewrite the finale and reshoot it. Did she forget everything when she was writing it so quickly? I don't know. I'm just saying, it's all messed up. But enough about the horrible finale. We're getting back into the premiere. It's 5 years later, and I want to commend all the actors on one point. They started filming this half of the season directly after they got done filming the other, which is kind of a hint to also, like, we just got done filming that, and then we started filming again, which doesn't happen. Normally what happens is they film it, and then they get done filming about halfway through the airing of that season, and then they go ahead and wait, and then they come back several months later and start filming the next half season. There's usually a hiatus when we get a hiatus, not necessarily lined up like that, but there's about the amount of time. So I'm not sure what they meant, because this kind of proves that because when they would have started filming the second season, or not the second season, the second part of season 6 would have been closer to, when they were airing the finale. So it's kind of weird to me that they hadn't already, because Torian said something, and I don't know if she realized it, but she said when they were filming the scene where they left each other at the cars in the finale at the end, when they were saying goodbye, and she said it was so sad because it seemed real, and they all did all that, and it was so sad and emotional. But then they were leaving the set. That was the last scene that they filmed, and they were leaving the set, and then they were all sad about it. And then she's like, "Well, see you tomorrow," and they immediately started filming season 6B, which is not what I thought was normal. I thought that they filmed one half, and then they went on a break from filming, and then they'd come back and film the other half later on. I didn't know they would do it so close together, you know what I mean? Which they did see each other for, I don't know if she meant they did, but they definitely started filming the next one less than a week later, about a week later, I know for sure, or I've heard. So, but she seemed, I'm pretty sure she said we were coming back to film the premiere the next day. So why would they do that? Why would they film season 6A and 6B so close together? That's what I'm wondering. So that's kind of evidence too. But anyway, that's not the point of pointing what she said. She said that they, all, did all that, and they do see each other during their time off, for interviews, and also for various reasons. They hang out as friends sometimes, just because they want to. And so it's not like they can't just call each other up. So, they live near each other mainly, and they all live near Hollywood and all that stuff. Sometimes Lucy goes to Nashville or whatever. But either way, they're close in real life, and they do see each other a lot, even in the off time. So they come back, and in the premiere, you really feel like they have these girls. In real life, they've seen each other. Probably they saw each other the day before. So, Torian even said that we saw each other the next day. So, they really saw each other pretty much every day for the past 6 years. And, even on their time off, they probably see each other, occasionally. So, they don't really go that much time apart. And yet, when they come back to film the premiere in the show, you really get a sense that these girls have not seen each other in 5 years. Which is physically impossible in real life anyway, but, it's just, they haven't even spent time apart, even for a week or a month or such and such, but you really feel like these girls haven't seen each other for 5 years, and that says a lot about their acting skills, that they can pull that off and make you really believe that these are people that haven't seen each other in a long time, and they're kind of awkward together, which is not their, they're close, they're really close. And they still love each other the same as they always did, and they always will. Even if bad things happen with Spencer and Caleb, they will find a way back to how they were, because their love for each other is so strong. And that's probably the most important thing about this show, is their love, basically. Not just with the boyfriends it's the 4 girls. Their friendship is the best thing about the show. And regardless of the mystery, the romances, everything else, the most important and the best part of the show is the friendship between the 4 girls. And I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but I know Marlene probably does, and I know, like, a lot of people do, and if you're missing that, then you're missing out. Because that is what Marlene is the best at writing, for one. And we know that because of Now and Then. And, and of course this. And, it really shows that girls can be friends with unconditional love and support without being catty or stealing each other's boyfriends, hopefully, and all that. But even if they do go that route, I hope they do it delicately in a way that just to show people that if it does happen in real, because sometimes it does happen in real life, and I personally, like, I don't like any of my ex-boyfriends enough to care right now. I actually tried to get one of my friends to hook up with one of my ex-boyfriends one time, things like that. But if I really, like, if there's someone like Caleb in my life, and there kind of is, and, you know, all my friends know I still have feelings for this person. So if any of my friends hooked up with this guy who's essentially Caleb, I mean, he really is a lot like Caleb, but anyway. And yeah, I know. Yeah. that is why I'm not over it. But anyway. I mean, Caleb, come on, he's amazing. Caleb is just the coolest. I mean, and it's not just because he's hot, it's like, Caleb is so supportive without being cheesy. Things like that, you know, we all know why we love Caleb. There's so many reasons. And I could do a whole vlog about that. But anyway, Heather Hogan brought it up one time whenever, she's like, Caleb is always like, you know, he pushes Hannah's buttons, and he's very sarcastic, and he's really witty. Like, Heather didn't say this, but I'm saying, which my name's Heather, but Heather Hogan didn't say this, but, like, Caleb is very witty and dry and sarcastic, and but he's not a jerk at all. And I think that's really, really what, like, me personally would be looking for. I don't want somebody that's overly romantic and cheesy, like, gag me, bringing me flowers and dumb stuff. I don't want that, you know what I mean? No girl really wants that cheesy douchebag, like, whatever, like that guy that's, like, too nice. And, you know, guys get mad when you say that, but it's not really you're not being nice if you're just doing it for show, or doing what you think you should to impress a girl. Like, Caleb really doesn't try to impress Hannah. He wants what's best for her, even if it makes her hate him. He's actually said that. So, you know, I mean, he kidnapped her at one point, which I know could sound problematic, but it wasn't. But anyway, Caleb's lovable. He's just great. But anyway, I know that since I have a Caleb in my life, if any of my friends, like, try to hook up with that person, I would be not friends with him anymore. I would definitely not be friends with him anymore, and if he tried to do that, I would be devastated, and I probably wouldn't talk to him anymore. And we're friends, you know, we're not together, we're just friends. I know, bah, that's so sad. But anyway, it is sad, it's very sad, but, you know, whatever, I'm dealing. But, you know, and no, he doesn't know, so, like, no, he doesn't know that I, like, want to, you know, whatever. But no, we are friends, but if he tried anything with any of my friends, or if they tried anything with him, I would cut off all friendship with all parties. And, you know, I would forgive them eventually, but I would probably not want to be friends with him anymore. Him or the girl, you know, I wouldn't. I mean, I'll forgive him, but I don't think we'd be friends again. Like, I wouldn't trust them ever again, and I wouldn't, especially my friends. I mean, you know, if the guy doesn't know that you still care or whatever, that's one thing, but the girl, you know, the friends that you have, like Spencer and Hannah, like, they obviously know. Spencer obviously knows that Hannah was never going to get over Caleb, so she really knows better. And Caleb might just, you know, and also in his hurt over her being engaged and all this, his judgment might be clouded, but I really don't see that in his face. It seems more like Spencer is the pursuer of this than him, and I'm not, like, making excuses for him, like, it sounds like I'm doing that, like most typical girls do, but I'm just looking at the facts, and the realities of the situation. He doesn't seem to really grasp that Spencer might have a crush on him or something. If she does, she just seems more like the pursuer in the situation of him than the other way around. And she's the one that should know more, know better more, because your girlfriends, you know, they know how you feel more than guys would, you know, because even if Caleb is so observant, like, I mean, which, that's another thing, Caleb is so observant that he kind of gets less of an excuse because he is observant enough to know that Hannah still has feelings for him. So he's still on the hook because he would be observant enough to know that she does have feelings. I'm sure he knows that, because you can, I mean, he might be in denial about it or, like, try to ignore it, but deep down he does know. You can tell that they both know. So, you know, he has less of an excuse to, for that very reason. If it was some other guy that was less observant, it would be different, but he is very intuitive, especially about Hannah, so, you know. And, what other not problems, but what other things about I really I had forgot about this line, and I had said another line was my favorite in, like, a questionnaire on a group, but, one of my favorite lines in this episode is when they're all sitting around talking, and Spencer's like, we could go to Rome and Madrid and Paris and whatever, we could party and have fun, and meet up and hang out, which I don't party, but I mean, you know, that just sounds, traveling and hanging out with your friends like that just seems way more appealing, and it is, and they have all this freedom and all this, and, but she's like, and Allie and Charlotte can sit in that big ugly house and they can bake cookies, and I'm like, that is just so much shade thrown at Allie right now, especially, I mean, it's mean, but, like, Allie looks like a mom, like, she looks like she should be driving a minivan. And that's what the bros said. They were like, Allie in her minivan. You know, like, she's like soccer mom, even though she doesn't have any kids. She just looks, she's very domesticated right now, and it's boring, which there's a side of her, and I'm hoping that comes through more. And I think it's still there. It seems to be still there. I hadn't really noticed that until the bros pointed it out, you know, in the podcast. I was thinking they were taking the character a very boring route, but they did point out that she has these looks about her, which this is just the first episode I'm talking about. I don't know if she brings it about more in the second, but in the first episode there are hints that the Allison we know and love is still in there, which I want her to be good. I'm not saying that. I don't think Allison was ever really that bad, like, of a person. I think she did what she needed to, and she was raised, like, totally wrong. And I do like her redemption of herself and how she started going to church and got redemption that way, and just, I like her redemption. I'm very for that, but she's still going to be strong. Allison's always been really smart and very clever and wise also, and she's very good at reading people, and, you know, she used to use it to manipulate. I just wish she would have her character traits still, but use them for good. You know, she doesn't have to be a wet blanket like she seems to be on the surface, but I do think that she's still herself. I still want her to be redeemed and nice and not go back to her old mean manipulative ways, but at the same time I do want her to be herself, and that she's strong and smart and wise in everything that she was, you know. She's a very strong person, so I really want to see that, you know, and less, like, boring, which she's not entirely boring, it's just, and the clothes they put her in, I'm just like, dude, and I know that Sasha has issues, and that's why, but, I mean, part of the reason, but, you know, hopefully, they will start dressing her more like herself, and I think that adds to the effect, though. I think that, you know, it's not so much that Sasha has gained a lot of weight. I think they're dressing her older and, like, more frumpy. And it's not actually how she looks. I think they're making her look worse. Like she's gained more weight than she has because of how they're dressing her. I don't think she really looks that way. If she wore better clothes, more fitted clothes, she would look her actual size, because you see her pictures on the internet and she doesn't look as frumpy as she does on the show. And I think it's the clothes they're putting her in that makes her look, worse. Definitely not insulting her. I love her, and I don't think anybody should say anything about that, like, negatively, or insult her or bash her for that at all. I'm just saying, I think I don't like the clothes they're putting her in, and I don't think they're flattering for her at all. I'm insulting the clothes that they're putting her in, because I think they're less flattering than they could be. And she's definitely not going to look like she did in the pilot, because she was 11 in the pilot, and now she's an adult, and of course she's going to look a little different, and that's fine. And she's definitely not overweight. She's definitely a beautiful person with a beautiful body and all that. She's just gorgeous, really. And no one should insult her, like, for her, the way she looks. They would have no right, because she's absolutely gorgeous. But I'm just saying, the clothes they're putting her in are unflattering to anyone. And plus with her, she has some issues, so it's making it worse, because the clothes look, they're just the wrong clothes. And I don't know why they're doing that. So what else did I want to talk about in this episode? I talked about vertigo. This is really not that long. Jason, I will bring that up. Allison says something about Jason, or not really. Spencer brings up Jason. It's like, what does Jason think about this? And Allison's like, he doesn't agree with Dr. Rollins and I'm like, you think, like, the bros brought this up too, but they didn't really go into the whole, where is Jason? When is he gonna get his justice? And my other one that I couldn't send, because I talked about Jason for 40 minutes, I mentioned how, if you really think about all that Jason's been through, just think of Jason from the start of the show and everything he's been through from his childhood to now. And, really focus in on just him and the things he said, like, when he wanted to meet Charles and when he tried to be there for Charles and really be nice to him. He was the only one that really wanted to do that. And he said something that just, I can't stand it. He said something to Allison after that whole fiasco at the arcade. He says, I just wanted one moment, Allie. One moment alone with my brother. And I just keep thinking of that, and it just makes me so sad, because of all the people that was damaged by this person, like, his lasted the longest, and it was the most intense. Not that he got treated worse by A, because he definitely wasn't tortured under the ground for a month, and the girls were literally tortured. Mona was put in a well. I'm not saying he got the worst torture, but as far as, like, lasting, like, this started for him at a very young age, which, Charles didn't really cause all of it, but him growing up with a brother until he was 9, and then that brother being taken away. That was probably the closest person to him, because they were brothers. And then that person gets taken away, and he gets brainwashed into thinking it's his imaginary friend, and then later finds out that it's, it's not his imaginary friend, it's his actual brother who's been gone, and then he thinks he's dead, and then he finds out that Charles is alive, and all that, So, see, Allison grew up not knowing about this person, and, but Allison didn't spend time with Charles as a child or any of that, and didn't, have to be brainwashed into thinking it was an imaginary friend, so, but she's very much affected by this too, because she was friends with Cece, and, she was really close to Cece, probably more than Jason was. She liked her more than he did, and, they remained close. And all those hints about her and Cece being related, definitely, that's the only, their whole relationship is the only thing that, like, makes, Cece being Charles even almost fit, you know what I mean, like, just their whole relationship is the only thing that, suits that. But, of course, there are also issues with, like, Cece dating Jason, and, Jessica saying that Radley called her, which she could have been lying, but saying that Radley called her and they have her daughter, and then she's like, it's not my daughter, it's Cece. and then also with Cece, and there's a lot of plot holes with that, we all know that. Her visiting Mona with the visitor's pass and all that. But Cece and Allison's relationship did hint at that something was going on there more than what we thought, but who knows. But then Jason, he dated Cece, and they had very bad breakups. They didn't get along after the breakup. He couldn't stand her, he didn't want to be around her. He thought she was bad news, and then the way that he finds out that she is Charles is like the most horrific thing I can think of. Honestly, I can't think of anything worse. He was conscious, but he wasn't able to move, and he couldn't scream or pace the floor or punch the wall or react in any way to finding out that he had dated his brother, who was pretending to be a girl, which was Cece, So, he has to hear this. He was very aware of what she was saying, and that's horrific because he couldn't react physically. And so I'm just wondering how he didn't have a heart attack or stroke as he was laying there, just from the stress of hearing that and not being able to release the tension of it or release any emotion whatsoever. He couldn't even blink, so I can't imagine how he didn't go crazy inside his own head because he couldn't release any anger or any of his feelings about it. So that's the most horrific thing I can think of. Not the most horrific thing, but if you're gonna find out something like that and you think of a bad way for a bad situation to be in, to hear something like that, what happened to him would have been the worst. So that would have been the worst situation for him to hear that information. If somebody has bad news, they want you to sit down or, take a deep breath or whatever. He couldn't do anything. He was just laying there and couldn't move. So when he heard it, he couldn't react or release any of his, emotions about it in any physical way. So that's really, really damaging to a person. So if he does end up killing someone, or if he killed Charlotte, or turns out to be or kills anyone, I'm just not gonna be mad at him because if Jason, and I said this in a comment and it was kind of hilarious because I was frustrated. Not at anybody I was talking to, I was just frustrated in general with the whole Jason situation. If Jason does come back and kill everybody, I'm just gonna be like, okay, okay, good. He doesn't need to explain himself. I mean, it's a show. If he, it's just a show, so that's not mean. But if he was just okay, Spencer and Allie and all the four girls and Allison, and Toby and Caleb, you guys leave town because I'm gonna do something, and then he just throws a leather jacket after they leave. Jason just throws the leather jacket over his shoulder and walks away from an ablaze Rosewood, and hops on a motorcycle and drives away all hot, and he's got black stuff on him from the flames, from the ashes, because he's just so hot. But if he sets the whole town on fire, gets out all the people we like, Pam and Ashley, would probably leave, and Veronica, like them. So, there are certain people in there I'd want to, escape. And Mona, obviously. But if Jason does something, Jason should be acting like Ezra is now. Jason has more of a right to be acting like Ezra is at this moment. Ezra's, upset, and I get it. I mean, it would be upsetting, but he's kind of this is my pain. He's not so much sad for Nicole as he is sad for himself about Nicole. And that really annoys me. He's kind of going on a downward spiral. which, I mean, it would be very, very upsetting. But he's kind of really feeling sorry for himself, and I know he would be upset, and it's very reasonable that he would be upset, but a lot of people don't think so. A lot of people think he's very annoying about it, but, I mean, it is reasonable that he would be upset about this. But the way he's reacted to Arya is very awful, because he's like, oh, you understand it? Why don't you explain it to me? How somebody can just go missing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look at who you're talking to. You're talking about you wouldn't understand kidnapping like I would. And I'm like, she literally got kidnapped. And he's like, I don't even understand kidnapping, and my girlfriend got kidnapped. And she's like, Ezra, like, I literally got kidnapped. Hello, look who you're talking to. Like, I've been there, except I wasn't just friends with someone that was kidnapped. I was actually kidnapped myself and tortured, like, in horrific ways. You know, so she understands Nicole's pain. Like, not only has she been where you are, Ezra, because her friends got kidnapped, but, she understands Nicole's pain because she's been kidnapped herself. Like, when her friends were kidnapped, she was there with them being kidnapped. So, you know, she's been where Nicole's been, let alone where you've been. You know, like, shut up, Ezra. You know, stop yelling at Arya, because she's been through a lot worse than you are going through right now. Like, on multiple levels, like, and, you know, he's like, poor me, 2 of my girlfriends got kidnapped, and I'm like, poor your girlfriends that got kidnapped. Stupid. Like, poor Nicole, poor Arya, not poor Ezra. Which, I mean, it would be hard to deal with. I'm not saying he shouldn't feel anything about it, but, like, I understand why he's so upset, but don't yell at Arya about it, because she's been through worse, you know, like, some of us have real pain, Emily. Some of us have real problems, Emily. Like, Emily was literally going through, like, the worst things ever in her entire life, and, like, Ezra's like, some of us have real problems, Emily, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you serious right now? Everybody was, like, joking about that. But, you know, I didn't like that he went off on Arya about that, but, and he knew what she meant. She was like, they understand, and she meant they were understanding of his situation, not they understand why it happened. Who would say that? I mean, that's not what she meant at all, and he knew that's not what she meant. Like, just literally, Ezra, go somewhere and cry. Like, I get why you need to cry, but stop blaming everybody and taking it out on everybody else. So Jason should be on the level, you know, Ezra, you're not even on Jason's level of pain. Like, just, you know, we're not even giving Jason scenes where he deals with this. So, why are we giving Ezra scenes where he deals with something we don't even know about? Like, we don't know Nicole. You know, that's sad or whatever, but we don't need to deal with Ezra's pain whenever we haven't even got to see how Jason's dealing with his pain. And Jason's pain has to do with people that are in the actual plot. You know, not just some random girl that was there for one episode. We want to see how Jason's dealing with this, not how Ezra's dealing with some one episode lady, you know. Like, so Ezra's level of pain is like where Jason should be, but Jason's just like, I pulled up my bootstraps and I'm still kicking. You know, I'm not crying around to victims themselves over my pain, you know, and it's stuff that actually happened to Jason. You know, he has, you know, it's not just stuff that happened to someone Jason knows, like Ezra. You know, Ezra's like, someone I know got hurt, I'm so sad. And I know people like that in my real life, and it's so, I mean, you hurt for people, I understand that. But don't expect me, you know, a separate person from the situation, to look at you and be like, I feel so sorry for you because someone you know is going through something hard. I'm going to feel sorry for the person who is going through something hard. Hello? You know what I mean? Like, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad because my brother's girlfriend's cousin's co-worker is sad. Feel sorry for me. You know, like, no, you don't get pity by association, you know, like, it's just, that's not how it works. You don't get pity by association, and that's kind of where Ezra's doing, and it's kind of annoying. I mean, his girlfriend went missing, and it is hard on him. I get that. I get that I'm not saying he shouldn't feel anything. I'm just saying we are sad for Nicole. Not, you know. And they're telling us all about this, and they're showing us how upset Ezra is, and he would be, and I get it. And we do know him as a character. He's been there since the pilot, so I get that. But don't fill the screen with his pain over what's happening to someone he knows, whenever we could be getting how Jason is dealing with all the things he's been through, which is a lot, that he actually went through himself, you know, things that actually happened to Jason that were bad. We're not seeing how he's dealing with that. Yet we have to watch Ezra be sad about a girl that we don't even know. You know, it's not fair. You know, I want to see how Jason's dealing with this. We got no emotional resolution for him. We didn't get to see his emotional reaction to what he found out. So I'm not sure why they're doing that, but I really would love to see how Jason, when he finally was able to talk or move, I would love to see Jason's emotional reaction to, you know, what he found out while he couldn't move, you know, because we got the emotional build-up with Jason wanting to see Charles. We got the emotional build-up of him being sympathetic to Charles, you know, more than anyone else in the entire show. Jason was the only one that was sympathetic to Charles, and yet it happened to be the worst possible person that it could be from Jason's perspective. And that's the truth. Like, if Jason could have picked who was the worst person that could possibly be Charles, he would have picked Cece as the worst possible scenario from his perspective. That's who it would have been. You know, so, you know, and we saw the emotional build-up of him being sympathetic, and yet when we find out that it's the worst case scenario for him, we don't get to see any emotional reaction from him. And it's so sad, because Drew is such an amazing actor, and he barely gets to, like, stretch his legs in any, like, when he has stretched his legs, we've seen him come through for us above and beyond, and but he rarely gets to do that. So I think this would have been such a great opportunity for Drew to really stretch his legs and show us his emotional reaction to finding out that his ex-girlfriend is Charles. You know, and I would love to see that. We need to petition the writers to see that. And Drew is a fantastic actor. If you haven't really paid attention to him, and the thing about him is, when he was supposed to be creepy, a lot of actors play creepy way over the top, and not in this show really, because I will give all of them credit for that, because except for Sarah Harvey. But a lot of the time when the characters are supposed to be creepy in other shows, or sometimes in this show, they do it over the top, and it's Keegan Allen definitely did. I'm sorry, I love him, but when he was supposed to be creepy, he was over the top creepy. And then later, when you find out they're not actually the creeper that you thought they were, it kind of doesn't make sense that they were so creepy. So with this show, everybody has to play every scene 2 or 3 different ways, because they don't know the actual outcome. I mean, that's the truth, and I've mentioned that before, and I think in the vlog, like Troyan did with finding out Toby was a. So a lot of the actors have to play things like, no, and then I can just hear the director now, like, now you're gonna play this scene creepy, but later on we might find out that you're not creepy, so play it in a way that works no matter what happens after this scene. You know, play it in a way that works for any possible outcome of the scene. And that would be freaking hard to do. And if you think about that for a second, like, how they don't know hardly anything, but they have to play the scene in a way that fits any possible outcome that might come about later on. You know, that's like hard work. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just like, you're creepy today. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're kind of creepy today, but you need to play it in a way that later, if you watch it back, you can see that you weren't actually creepy. You know? So, and Jason, Drew Van Acker really did a good job of that, I think, because when he was creepy, when you go back and watch it, after you find out that he wasn't and he wasn't sketchy, and he's really just paranoid that people are trying to get to him, or that somebody's after him, like he's the victim. You can go back and watch it, and he just, instead of being creepy, you see that, like, oh, he was wondering why they were, breaking in his building and all this. And Drew really played that so well that, once you find out the truth of what was really going on, you can go back and see that he wasn't creepy, that he was just really confused about, why the girls were asking him so many questions and breaking in his shed and all this. So he really is a great actor. And, he's just a great actor. They haven't given him enough room to, play a bunch of different sides, but, I really wish they would have done that. And, so, I don't know. We'll see how that goes later on. Hopefully we'll get some flashbacks to see how he handled that. And, so in this episode, I mentioned vertigo. I'm trying to remember if I mentioned everything I wanted to. Lucy Hale's monologue about the train. That was so sad. And I don't have anything to say about it. She did it all herself. Like, if you watch it, it's so sad. And Wayne Fields, oh my gosh. However, I do have something to say about Allison, during this scene. I don't know if anybody noticed, but, when Arya was just like, no, I would not feel safe, before she tells him why, like, she's just like, no, not feel safe. And she looks over at Allison, and as if to say, I'm sorry, but I just can't, like, she just looks, she's very apologetic. She looks over at Allison like, oh, I tried, but I can't. And Allison's face, like, this is the part where you're like, you think, is Allison good? Is she really good? Or is she pretending? And this is the part where like, Allison deep inside really loves these girls. And I know, like, as I'm saying this, like, I've watched the second of the season, of second episode, and I know she's, like, being suspicious, but she's going through a lot, like, she loved Charlotte, and, she's very much on edge. Like, her behavior at this point is very reactionary because she's really hurt. But in that scene, in that moment where Arya looks over at Allison, and this is the part where, like, she's not just a typical queen bee, I'm the boss of you person. Like, that is not her. That's never been her, really. Because she has this look on her face like you would when a little kid spills their drink and they're like, I'm so sorry, and they're really apologetic. And you just look at them like, oh, no, don't be scared. It's okay. Like, it's so sad to me. Like, I'm tearing up as I say this because, we all know how Allison is and how she's perceived by everyone. And she's begged them to do this thing for her. And Arya, like, it's the bond between even the girls and Allison is so beautiful. Not only with each other, but also their bond with Allison. Arya is actually apologizing to her, like, and it's also like, the fact that the girls would even do this after what happened is so loving of them and so forgiving of them. But then, and you think, Allison's their boss, she's being awful for expecting them to do this, and I'm literally crying talking about this, but Arya looks at her and she's genuinely sorry, that she can't do it. And Allison is so good at reading people, and that's the thing about Allison I love. She is so good at reading people, truly. She truly is. And, she sees that Arya is an actual, like, pain. Real pain. And Arya is actually, like, just really torn up. And Allison looks down and looks at her like, no, that's alright. you know, you have a right to your pain. Like, of all the people in Rosewood, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people in this town and in real life that, you know, if someone doesn't agree with you or your ideals, or, and this is such a life lesson, like Allison wanted out Arya. She begged Arya to say that she wasn't scared of Charlotte. And this is what she wanted. She wanted the most. This is what she wanted the most at this moment, was for Arya and all the girls to say they weren't scared. But at the same time, when she didn't get what she wanted, you know, she didn't get what she wanted. Arya was doing the opposite of what she wanted. But Allison saw her pain, and she was like, no, you know, even if this is the opposite of what I want, you know, I'm acknowledging that you have a right to your pain, even though it's someone that I love that caused it, someone that I, you know, like, all the implications here are just so, like, Allison is so the opposite of what everyone else in this town is like I said about Ezra, you know, like, you know, everybody's, you know, sorry for Ezra, but he's not acknowledging that, like, he can't yell at people about it. He can't, you know, he's mad at Charlotte, he's mad at everybody, you know what I mean? Like, he's taking it out on Arya, and he's taking it out on Arya's boss. And, you know, he's just really taking it out on everybody. And the way that Allison's dad handled her, and the way that, you know, all the parents handled the girls, like, all the time, like, why aren't you telling me stuff? Like, all they were interested in was, like, it seems like most people in this town and in real life, you know, they aren't interested in letting you have your pain and owning it and having a right to feeling that. They were more concerned with how it affects them. And Allison in this moment just gives that up to Arya. Like, even though Arya was saying the opposite, the exact opposite of what Allison truly wanted, deeply wanted, like, badly, Arya was saying the opposite of what Allison wanted. And everybody calls her mean and stuff, but in this moment she's like, no, you know, she loved Charlotte, she spent 5 years with her, and all this, you know, stuff. Arya was talking bad about someone that Allison loved and saying, like, they caused this, and I'm scared of them, and this is the opposite of what you want, and I'm sorry. And Allison's just like, that's okay. You have a right to this. And it's just so the opposite of most of the people in the town. Like, even though Arya was doing something that hurt Allison's cause was totally the opposite of what Allison's desire was, Allison was still like, it doesn't matter, you know, like, what I want, it's not as important as your real pain, because you have a right to that, you know. Like, she was giving up, you know, her, you know, what she wanted in order to let Arya know that it was okay, that she had a right to her pain. Like, like, I don't know how to express it. Like, I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but I don't know how to express it, like, the way I see it, you know what I mean? Like, all the implications of it. And, you know, a lot of this town's issues are the victims of things, you know, and all the people that surround them and how people react to them is very much like, what's this going to cause to happen? What is your pain going to cause to happen to me? You know, like, how is your pain affecting me? You know what I mean? Like, that's mainly the issues. How everyone else's pain is affecting them. And, you know, Allison just was not, she was just like, no, you know? Or, like, how can I help? Like, they either want to fix it, like, immediately, or change it, or have them tell them, you know, what's wrong. And Allison she just gave all that up to let Arya feel what she felt, and she was okay with it, even though it was so important to Allison that Arya say the exact opposite of what she was saying, she still was like, I'm not mad, you have a right to this. And she just gave her this really loving and understanding look that I can't, like, I don't know how somebody could see that particular, like, her facial expression in that particular scene and still think, like, she's totally awful. Like, she's done awful things, but, like Spencer said, we're not always what we do, but she was desperate to get Charlotte out, which I'm not a fan of Charlotte, obviously, and I don't think Allison should have been so quick to forgive her. I mean, forgive her maybe, but be, like, the way she was, but at the same time, you know, even if Allison's awful in a lot of ways, she's not purely awful. Like, you can't say that there's nothing good about her after seeing that scene. Like, you can't say that she's not good inside somewhere after seeing that. And I had to say that because, you know, a lot of people still don't like Allison, or they, you know, had liked her, but they changed their mind again because she's, like, attacking Arya. But remember, and someone else brought this up, because they were talking, and they're like, you know, someone kills the girl that tortured the girls. Something like that. They were basically being like, Allison jumped so quickly to blame Arya, or, like, accuse Arya of something she didn't do. And she runs and tells the police, even though her friends have always been good to her. But, remember, that's not that's not the right reaction. She's very quickly reacting, I think, based on her pain and she's overreacting. But the thing is, the girls so quickly accused Allison of being back in season 5, and stood in front of her whenever she tried to get away, which they thought she killed Mona. And, they should have known better also, but I understand where they were coming from as well. But I'm just saying, like, they, you know, pretty much helped get Allison put in prison. And then, you know, very rashly did that. And, you know, she still saved their lives afterwards. She risked her life to save them. So, it's very not one-sided here when she's accusing Arya. Like, I see that it's definitely a mistake. And, I feel bad for Arya, obviously. And I know Arya really didn't do it. Maybe it'd be cool if she did. Like, I wouldn't even, like, be mad at her, but, like, it'd be kind of cool. But, Allison's very much reacting from her pain, and she's just not thinking clearly at this point. So, you know, it's not right that she's doing that and that she, like, called the police and accused her friends of murder, but at the same time, she's been on the other end of that with them, you know, and she was innocent. So, you know, I can't say that I'm truly, like, angry at her very much because of that, because, you know, poor Arya definitely, but at the same time, I can't really be too angry at Allison for it, because she's reacting, you know, she's a mess, and she's reacting from her pain, so I can't really fault her too much for that, especially since it's happened to her. She's been on the other side of that, which should make her more understanding, honestly, but she's very much not thinking clearly, so she's just trying to, you know, you can see it in her acting, like, props to Sasha, definitely, because she is she's, like, so amazing at acting, but, you can read all her, like, expressions and things, and she's very, like, she's got her eye, like, she's hyper-focused on figuring out who did this, so she's not really thinking, like, the big picture, so she's very much hyper-focused on just, she's probably gonna be the new Spencer, just accusing everyone of it, like, over and over again, which, you know, it's just mainly because of her pain and suffering, which, you know, headcanon theory, Allison's been planning this since, like, she found out that Cece was that would be awesome if she had been planning this and just, like, pretended to be nice to Charlotte, and then so that she could eventually kill her. I know that probably won't happen in the show, but it would be awesome if it did. Because and she's like, don't mess with my friends, because Allison really loves these girls. We know that she loves them. So anyway, that's all. I had to interject because I had listened to this and I'm like, wait, I didn't say anything about Allison there, and I had to like go back and record more of what I had to say about that. But that scene is just, I just now bawled because just talking about it. So yeah. Wayne Fields, oh my gosh, so sad. That's so sad. He was the best dad in Rosewood. And he called, and I'll mention this in the next vlog about episode 2 of this season, which is actually episode 12, but anyway, season 6, episode 12, but anyway, I'm talking about season 6, episode 11, but anyway, Wayne always called Emily Emmy, and he was always so nice to her. Like, just every scene with Wayne, he scaled a building for his daughter, you know what I mean? Like, he literally climbed up the side of a brick wall to rescue his daughter, carried her on his back to safety, almost died in the process. And, he's just really, and then compare him to, like, Tom Marin, which, why does Ashley still have the name Marin if they're divorced? That's his name, right? Well, Ashley kept the name, which may be because of Hannah, but which some people do that, but I don't know. Just thinking about Tom Marin, compare him to Wayne Fields, I just realized, and the bros brought this up too, a thing about Emily is that, she drew a lot of strength from her dad, when she was having a tough time, even though he wasn't home, she went and put on his army jacket, and she wanted to connect with her dad on any level that she could to draw strength from him. He was really a lot of her support system, for everything. He was there for her, throughout the whole series. It was her dad that was helping her through everything. He was her, he was so important to her. He was so, and not just when he was there talking to her, but things she learned, and just her whole, any good character that she has was taught to her by her dad. And I'm not saying, well, Pam, Pam is a good person also. I'm not saying, she's a pretty good mother, especially compared to Jessica Taylor and both of Allison's parents are awful. And Tom Marin sucks, and Peter Hastings is kind of awful, and Veronica can be awful. Pam was barely ever awful. But Emily's got good parents, and but then Wayne, he was just so kind and compassionate, and her mom kind of wanted to. The thing about Pam is she at first wanted to. She was more concerned about Emily's reputation than her happiness, and I'm not condoning the whole whatever. I'm just saying just in general. She didn't even, approve of Arya's pink hair. She was concerned about reputation. Which, that's kind of what we got in the pilot with most of the parents. Even Ashley Marin, who's, a wonderful mother and just great all around. I love Ashley Marin. But, she was kind of pretty concerned about, and I did a blog about this, how the show represents real life, and that, the girls were always trapped in a dollhouse of sorts, which Heather Hogan brought up, and pointed out to everyone. But, Wayne died, and that's just the saddest thing ever, because he was always just super fantastic, above and beyond a wonderful dad, and it's just, I don't know how I'm going to get through any old episodes when I rewatch them with him in them. Because I'm probably going to bawl my eyes out every time I see his face. And he was, really cute. He's, a cute dad, He was hot. He was, a hot dad. And, it's just so sad. And he was a good husband. And just, he was a veteran, everything about him was just, I can't think of any negative things to say about Wayne Fields. Not one thing. And I think we should all take time to, grieve this character, because he was a great, great character. He was a nice, caring individual. And so, they really killed off one of the best people. And I'm not saying he had, like, a big part in the plot or anything, like, or his character was, like, super complex. But as far as, like, actually being a nice, kind, caring, loving parent, and he was very important to Emily, you know. And even if you don't realize it, when you really think about it, he was very important to Emily, and her entire personality. So, it's really sad that he's gone, and of all the people that they could have killed off, he was the nicest, kindest man. That's, you know, I mean, he was just so kind and sweet and compassionate, and really just a very lovable character that I can't think of anything negative to say about. So it's really sad that they did that. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it has anything to do with, like, the actor. Of course, at this point, they cannot replace actors. It's just way too late to do a head transplant. As Heather Hogan calls them. You know, with Jason, we only saw him for a few episodes, which, that was a little risky. I mean, of course, they replaced Ian and Toby after the pilot, because nobody cares. And nobody really noticed them that much. And so that's not a big deal. But when they replaced Jason, even though he had, like, several lines of dialogue and a whole plot line surrounding him as Parker, and then they replaced him with Drew, I was like, that's a little far-fetched, but whatever. I mean, Drew is way more attractive, and Drew is such a better Jason. I don't think I'm glad they did that, but I wish they would have brought Drew in from the beginning. However, I guess, you know, in that first plot line of Jason's, we were not supposed to like him, and it would have been harder to find him as unlikable as we did if it had been Drew, I think. But it's just hard to picture that as the actual Jason. Like, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, that's not Jason. Like, I just can't do it. It's just, I feel like Drew is Jason, and that was just some other Jason. It's like a totally different person. And not just because of the actor, because I know that, you know, sometimes that works, but they're so different. They played the characters so different than each other, too. Not only did they look different, but they played the characters so differently. And I kind of wish Drew had been there from the get-go. And, you know, even though he's cute, he could have been a little creepy, but I think we would have got a real sense of who Jason actually, like, is. Who he grew to be. And, I don't think, I think Parker played it a little too creepy or too, overdone or something. I don't know. There's something was off about it, and I really like the way that Drew plays Jason. I think the role suits him. I think he fills it out and does everything in a way that gives this character so many different dimensions. Like the Parker Jason really played it the one way, and kind of you didn't like him, and he was kind of creepy and annoying and you know, really suspicious. And Jason really plays it more complex. Drew plays Jason. I meant to say Drew plays Jason in a way more complex way. So I really wish they would have had Drew from the start, but unfortunately they didn't. It's really hard to watch those scenes. I'm just like, who is that guy? Like, who is that guy? It's not Jason. Jason is that hot blonde. But this is an hour or so, and I didn't just, you know, I didn't go off on any, I did go off on tangents, but I didn't go off on, I did kind of hit a few points I wanted to make, but because of the Rosewood PLL 2 recap, I kind of just, didn't go through the whole episode, you know, scene by scene or anything like that, because they did that, and I really, you know, I really, really, really encourage you to go listen to that. It's 2.5 hours long, but it is worth it. And you should definitely check out their interview with Troy and Bellisario. It is also 2 hours, and it's so worth it. And their recap, not their first recap, but their second recap. Well, you can do both. But definitely check out the second recap of Songs of Innocence, and you'll get what, you know, a more sense of what if you don't already, of how I watch the show. They really, a lot of the things they say, I'm really, I would have said myself. That's why this wasn't, they already hit on the subjects that I wanted to. I pretty much could have just not done this and posted what they said, but I really wanted to touch on some of the Jason issues, and they didn't really get to that, but, and they like Sarah Harvey. I don't understand it. They make fun of her, and it's hilarious. They do these voices. Like, you seriously gotta go check out Rosewood PLL too. They like do the voices. They're like, Toby's like, Spencer, I like talk like a robot. It's so great. And then with Sarah Harvey, they're like, Levin's dead. Like, of course I'm a girl and I can sound more like it than they do, but she's like, Levin's dead. And you're just like, seriously? She's like, Emily, like, she just talks this weird way, and I'm just like, oh, nails on a chalkboard. I don't like her accent. I don't like the actress. Like, I don't dislike the actress, but, like, she's not good at acting. So I don't like that. I don't think she's very good at acting. I don't think she's... No, I don't like it. Which they kind of mockingly like her in the way that they're kind of, like, mocking her at the same time. But they do like her, and that's really... And I'm not sure how they feel about Caleb. I haven't really listened to enough of their recaps to know how they stand on Caleb, and I truly love him. I know Heather Hogan does like Caleb, pretty much for the same reasons I do. Almost. She's a lesbian, so she doesn't exactly feel exactly like I do about Caleb, because I'm attracted to him. But, yeah, so there's just some of the things I wanted to say, and I can't really think of anything else without going on a tangent about something totally random. About this specific episode, I can't think of anything that the bros didn't touch on that I wanted to. So go listen to that, and most of what they said is, I like Pastor Ted. They wanted him to die. For some reason, I liked him a lot. I really like Pastor Ted, but that's one thing I disagreed with them about. But everything else, and the Sarah Harvey thing, I didn't agree with, but pretty much everything else I did that I can remember. So... pretty much what they said, So, that's all of that. And, I'm gonna leave you with I don't really know how to end these yet. I haven't thought of anything to, end it, say goodbye with, so I'm just gonna go really cheesy and awful. Like, but also to do with the show. I'm gonna end this first one the way that the girls ended last season, and I'm just going to tell you that, because it's really hard for me to, like, remember what I'm trying to say. No, it's hard for me to think of a way to end this good, so I usually end up saying, thanks, bye, and that's kind of stupid, so I'm going to end it a different way, and since it's hard for me to think of a way to say goodbye, this is fitting. How lucky am I that I have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.